Here's 4 best ETFs to pair with SCHD to get rich easily. It's a no-brainer that SCHD is one of the best ETFs in the dividend investing world, since it has a high dividend yield of nearly 3.5%. SCHD has been able to grow its dividend every single year, which means more money in your pocket in terms of passive income as the years go by. And the returns of over 11% annually over the last 10 years, coupled with the returns of over 13% annually over the last 5 years, are no joke and could easily make you rich over time. SCHD by itself can hold its own as a 1 ETF portfolio, but I found 4 different ETFs to pair with SCHD and can supercharge your portfolio and provide some added benefits like high growth in terms of capital appreciation, perhaps some more added diversification, or more dividends for passive income if that is what you seek. I'm going to make sure all 4 of these ETFs in this video have a low fund overlap. And a low fund overlap essentially means that we have increased our chances of diversification as well as have a less concentrated portfolio, which is also a great thing for long-term investing. So let's get started. The first type of ETF is a growth ETF. There's so many growth ETFs to choose from that can complement SCHD very well, so here's a ton of ones to choose from, but I'm going to choose Charles Schwab's SCHG since it's in the same family tree as SCHD, but any of these ones are going to be great choices on your screen. In terms of fund overlap, SCHG and SCHD have a very low fund overlap of 1%, which means that these ETFs complement each other quite well and can make a great combo. SCHG has a low expense ratio of 0.04%, a perfect grade by Seeking Alpha. It also has a low dividend yield of around 0.4%, but that's where SCHD comes into play and can actually boost the dividend yield of this portfolio to nearly 2%, which is going to be way higher than having only SCHG if you were to do a 50-50 split to both of these ETFs. SCHG's top holdings are Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Meta Platforms, Amazon, and Google, with its top sectors being mostly to technology, followed by communication. These 2 sectors are exactly what SCHD lacks in its portfolio, so combining both of these ETFs will provide you way more exposure to those high growth sectors and areas of the market which can offer way more returns and potential upside in your portfolio. SCHG has had an impressive performance, delivering over 16% annually over the last 10 years and over 20% annually, yes, 20% over the last 5 years. So if you do add a growth ETF to your SCHD portfolio, you will definitely never miss out on the opportunity of those insane returns that the growth sector of the market has to offer, all while collecting a very high dividend along the way. If we combine both these ETFs using a portfolio backtester at a 50-50 allocation to each fund, the 10-year annual return is over 14%, which is going to be nearly 3% higher than only buying SCHD. And if we invested $100,000 in this 2 ETF portfolio, you would end up with over $370,000 over the last decade compared to only SCHD with $290,000. The second ETF is either an S&P 500 index fund or total market ETF, some of my favorites being VOO, VTI, SPLG, and VT, but any of these will do. Since I have a lot of money in Vanguard's VOO, I'm biased and I'm going to choose this ETF. With fund overlap, VOO and SCHD have a low fund overlap of just 8%, once again very good. VOO has a low expense ratio of 0.03%, yet another perfect grade by Seeking Alpha. It has a dividend yield of well over 1%, which is great because combining both these ETFs will give you a dividend yield over double, well over 2%. VOO's top holdings are Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Meta Platforms, Amazon, and Google. VOO's top sector is technology and a broad range of other sectors for diversification. This can be a great way to combine both these ETFs because with an S&P 500 or a total market ETF, you're essentially investing in the market, which is one of the hardest indexes to beat. and you're investing in both growth and value stocks with VU instead of only value stocks with SCHD. So keep that in mind as you can boost your returns if value stocks underperform growth stocks in any given year. VU has also had outstanding performance, delivering over 13% annually over the last 10 years and over 15% annually over the last 5 years. And using our portfolio backtester at a 50-50% allocation to each ETF, the 10-year annual return is over 12%, which is going to be nearly 1% higher than only buying SCHD. And if we invested $100,000 in this 2 ETF portfolio, you would end up with well over $300,000 over the last decade compared to only SCHD with $290,000. The third ETF is a dividend ETF. Not all dividend ETFs are made the same, so here's some of the best ones I like that provide dividend growth or that pay a dividend, but I'm going to go with the DGRO by iShares because I believe it's one of the best dividend funds that can pair great with SCHD. The fund overlap of both DGRO and SCHD has a fund overlap of 20%, which isn't bad at all considering that both of these ETFs have a ton of value dividend paying stocks. DGRO has a low expense ratio of 0.08%. It has a good dividend yield of well over 2% with one of the most consistent and reliable dividend growth I've seen in the stock market. Pairing a dividend ETF like DGRO with SCHD just provides a very good peace of mind for those dividend investors. Instead of thinking like, oh wait, I should have picked DGRO, oh wait no, SCHD, or no, VYM, oh wait no, I should have picked VIG, oh no, I should have picked DIVB because it has gone up way more or whatever. Having more than one dividend ETF is going to be totally okay in my recommendation because it can provide more diversification, make you sleep way better at night, and could possibly increase returns in the long run if one of your dividend funds underperforms the other in any given year. DGRO's top holdings are ExxonMobil, Microsoft, Apple, JP Morgan Chase, Johnson & Johnson, and Chevron, with its top sectors being technology, financials, and healthcare. DGRO has also had a great performance of over 11% annually over the last 5 and 10 years. Combining both ETFs, the 10-year annual return is over 11.5%, which is going to be a touch higher than only buying SCHD. And if we invested $100,000 in this 2 ETF portfolio, you would end up with a little over a few $1,000s more than only buying SCHD. The fourth ETF is a covered call high dividend ETF, which is an ETF that generates high dividend income from exercising call options on the underlying stocks it holds within the fund. And here are some of the best in the high dividend investing world, but I'm going to go with JEPQ by JP Morgan Chase. The fund overlap of SCHD and JEPQ is very low at just 5%. JEPQ has an expense ratio of 0.35%, which might be high because it only deals with these kind of complicated covered call option strategy. JEPQ has a dividend yield of nearly 10%, which is super high, and the main reason why anybody combines JEPQ with SCHD is because they want a ton of dividend income. JEPQ's top holdings are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Meta Platforms, and Google. Its top sectors are the same of that of the Nasdaq 100, of largely technology followed by communication and consumer cyclical. SCHD definitely has more dividend growth. It's also going to have more capital appreciation, and it's also going to pay way more dividends year over year because of that snowball effect on your dividend income. With covered call ETFs like JEPQ and others, the dividend growth is lacking and even non-existent, but that's okay because SCHD definitely makes up for it in the dividend growth department. But with JEPQ, it definitely provides a very high dividend yield if you want some high income right now for dividends to live off of them as soon as possible, and it also provides some good capital appreciation. Combining both these ETFs using data from only the last 2 years, since JEPQ is still a pretty new fund, the annual return is over 20%, which is going to be nearly over 10% higher than only buying SCHD. These numbers are really inflated, But as time goes on, JEPQ's performance will kind of even out over time because JEPQ was an inception during a bull market and when tech was definitely rallying. And if we invested $100,000 into this 2 ETF portfolio, you would end up with nearly $140,000 over the last couple of years compared to only SCHD with nearly $120,000 in value. Now, if you guys want to see my entire $125,000 ETF portfolio, download the Blossom app for free using the link in the description of this video or in the pinned comment, and you'll see every ETF in my portfolio whenever I buy or sell an ETF, as well as I get to see your ETFs, which is going to be pretty cool to see, and you could join the fun of whenever I make any posts on the Blossom app, so be sure to give me a follow, and I will definitely give you a free follow back. If you guys like this video, please give it a like because this cute puppy did. Now, if you guys want a more in-depth video on the best 2 ETF portfolio that crushes only buying SCHD, then check out this one right here on your screen. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, continue to crush in the stock market, and take it easy. Peace.